He was beating me to death. I had already begged him to stop. He wasn't having it. I tried reasoning with him, saying that there was no way to cover this up, and that it would get worse if he killed me. He still didn't listen. I told him that what he was doing would not change what had happened. He didn't seem to care. He continued punching and kicking me, becoming more aggressive the more I spoke. I decided to stop talking eventually, mostly because the pain was becoming too much to think through. You might find it strange that I was able to try reasoning with him while I was half dead and bleeding from my skull. I am good under pressure. "You bastard," he said again, this time raising a toilet plunger over his head. I tried to roll away, but he still caught me on the cheek. I think I lost consciousness for a moment, because the next thing I knew, he was shoving my face against the wall, and all I could see of him was his long, black hair and brown eyes, pressed so close to me that I could feel his ragged breaths. "Screw you," he said. "I hope you die." "I don't know about that," I said. Speaking was hard, now that he had knocked out some of my teeth. "You picked the wrong person to mess with." "Yeah," he spat. "I'm sure I did." I could not get another word in before he slapped my face against the plaster, and I lost consciousness. We were having lunch at our favorite diner. Mark was paying. I'd ordered a salad, him a massive steak sandwich. He was already halfway done before I had mixed my salad dressing and croutons. "You're hungry," I remarked. He shrugged. That was always how he was. He ate fast. He was an energetic guy, which had its benefits, but it also made him a little uncontrollable. Sometimes he could get too excited. Like when he squeezed me so tight once, he gave me cramps. "How's your sister?" I asked. "Oh, her? She's fine. Working on the same case, I think. His sister was a private investigator. Last I had heard, she was looking into a missing kid. Know how those things go. After 24 hours, the kid's probably dead. The parents, however, didn't care if they found the body or not. They just wanted finality. I suppose I can respect that. Does she have any leads?" I asked. Mark brushed his long, black hair from his eyes. "I don't know. She doesn't share those kinds of things with me. I think she was going to visit someone tomorrow, in that apartment complex off of Hill Street." I didn't react to this information. I only nodded and continued the conversation, asking about his mother. She was fighting cancer, and his father, he had left them years before for a younger woman. Considering what life had handed him, he was a pretty amazing guy. "Emily," he said after we had finished, "I have to ask a favor of you." I gave him a sly smile. "You know I'd do anything. Can you look into this for me?" He slid a piece of paper across the table. It had a name and a phone number on it. I pretended not to recognize either. "My sister thinks this guy is a suspect. She doesn't have access to his records. But you would, right?" "I can't make any promises," I told him, "but I can try." Mark looked relieved. "That's all I can ask. If only he had known. I don't even tell my mother about what I do. I can't. She understands, I think, though she can sometimes be insistent, like she was today. "I just want you to be safe, Emily," she said. "You really can't tell me about what you're doing right now? I heard the FBI was investigating that murder across town. Please tell me you're not involved." "Mom, I work for the CIA, not the FBI." "I know, honey, but I'm just worried. I don't want you being hunted down by some criminal. That was my mom for you." She was the stereotypical overprotective mother. thinking that every case taken by the federal government was mine, that I was always in danger and not hiding behind a computer screen 60 hours a week. In truth, I wasn't. But I couldn't tell her that. As I said, she can't know details about my job. I assured her that I was not working on the murder. I also told her I was in no immediate danger. That would change shortly, though I could not have predicted it. I asked how Dad was. She said he was doing well. He had suffered a stroke in February. He's mostly fine. Doctors called his recovery a miracle, given how severe the ischemia was. I wasn't surprised. He had survived much worse throughout his life. He served with the Marines for 30 years, if that puts it into perspective. My mom told me to be careful again, and I insisted I would be. I was never worried about my safety. In my line of work, no one except your immediate colleagues know your name or your face. You have total anonymity, especially from the public, even from people close to you, like parents or a boyfriend. There's no way around it. What I know is too dangerous to share with anyone else. I consider their safety a top priority. I would never tell them something that might compromise my life or their own. Besides, they do not need to know what I do. No one does, except for those that I work with and the higher-ups that manage us. Which is why I never expected the leak. Mark was having a meltdown. I had come over as soon as he called, dropped the case that I had been working on. He was sobbing on his couch when I let myself in. I didn't bother asking what was wrong. When someone is crying like that, there's no way you can get words out of them until they calm down. When he was able to speak, he told me that it was his sister. She was dead, he told me. What? What happened? She was in a car accident. I don't know what happened. They said that she just swerved off the road, and she was rammed by a truck. Mark, I didn't know what to say, so I just held him. And he continued crying. I have some experience with these things. I've seen a lot of people suffer. I try to keep myself disconnected from it all, because sympathizing with each person makes it impossible to stay sane. This time, however, I couldn't help it. He was my boyfriend. How could I not feel his pain after knowing him so intimately for 2 years? At some point, a police officer came by to chat. I don't remember the conversation. I gave Mark some privacy when the officer arrived. He didn't talk to me afterward, so I left. I think he needed some alone time. I was waiting for the bus with a colleague. Sometimes it was not a good idea to use a car. Too traceable. I suppose you might think that a camera or something might pick up near a bus stop or on the bus itself, but you'd be wrong. In my town, the only security cameras are in gas stations and banks. You sure you're up for it? Joe said. His real name was not Joe. I guess that should be obvious. I can't use real names when I post this kind of stuff to the public. Nothing's too hard for me, I said. And that was the truth. You don't have to act, though. This has got to be hard. Boss offered to assign someone else you know, and I volunteered. So you did. He scratched his salt and pepper goatee. You trying to prove something? What do you think? His silence itself was an answer. He joined me on the bus. He took it to a rundown neighborhood on the outskirts of town. There wasn't much to see. Only a junkyard and some foreclosed property. The perfect spot to discuss business. When we got off, he led me to the meeting place, where 2 other men in suits were already waiting. They had guns sitting next to them. What is said here cannot be shared with others, one man said. This is a secret mission. I rolled my eyes. What is this? Some sort of spy movie? He stared at me, and I was intimidated despite the sunglasses. He tapped on his gun. You won't betray our trust, I hope. No, I said. Not me. You can trust me totally. I must have sounded scared. But maybe that was expected. He nodded, and they got down to business. Mark and I were lying in bed. He was running his hand on my back. He told me he loved me. I said the same, because what else is there to say? I did love him, I think. I loved him physically for sure. He was attractive, and we were very compatible sexually. He was also a good guy. The kind that you read about doing random acts of kindness. Did I mention that he works at a homeless shelter in his spare time? That on top of being a financial advisor and answering calls at all other hours of the day. I would never want to hurt him. Please remember that. I just didn't have a choice. See, I care about my family more than Mark. You might think I'm heartless. Family, though, is more important than anything. Even a boyfriend. I did care for him, though. I did all I could to shield him from the truth. I sympathized even when he was trying to kill me. If I had been able to avoid what had happened, I would have. Truth was, if it hadn't been me, it would have been someone else. There was no way to stop it. That's why I did it myself. I made sure there would be no mistakes, that he would never know, that he would think it was a simple accident and not deliberate. I'm not sure where the mistake was made. I only knew that when I stepped inside his house, that I had messed up, because that's when he punched me in the throat. The car was a Mercedes C-Class, a 2019 model. It was expensive, not the kind of car you would expect a middle-class single woman to own. I knew how she had obtained it. That was none of my concern, though it was some justification for what I was doing. Not that I needed any. I got orders and I followed them. That's how my job works. It's how everyone's job works, unless you're a CEO or self-employed. I had done this before. The bomb was compact and undetectable. It would certainly not be found within the wreckage. Hopefully you understand that I can't reveal more details. It didn't take long to hook up. Still, every second I spent in that parking lot was a risk. If someone spotted me, they might come over and investigate, and then I'd have another problem to clean up. Better to leave no strings attached. Besides, I couldn't kill someone in broad daylight. I'd have to come up with another explanation. Maybe say that my engine had died, and I was trying to jump it, which would open myself up to discovery. As it turned out, Joanna came out when I was finishing up. She wasn't looking in my direction, thankfully. She stood by the entrance and read something on her phone. The second I saw her, I panicked. I rushed through my work as quickly as I could and sprinted away from the Mercedes, hiding behind a black van. Maybe that's where I made the mistake. Whatever I did to reveal myself didn't compromise the mission, at least. That much is certain. But I did screw myself. Now that Mark knows, he will have told someone else. And that someone else will start to investigate. When they do, they might find things that are unsuitable for the public. I won't be alive for much longer. That's why I have to risk everything and made this post. I did leave out some details, because they have threatened my family. I also care about my colleagues, who are innocent in all of this, and do not deserve to die. If they find out anything, it'll be about me and Joe, and the two men that I met with. The rest of it is untraceable. Or maybe it isn't, because I thought the bomb couldn't be found either. In any case, my fate is sealed. Who knows? By the time you read this, I might already be dead.